Well, once again, welcome. This is Train Simulator. No. This is Train Sim World 3, Cain Creek. But I want to talk some more about my feelings of the upcoming new release of Train Sim World 4. I've talked about this in a previous video, what if you should buy it or not buy it, and some of my feelings about that. This is more just some things that I'm looking forward to, and actually the more I think about it, the more I believe that in a couple weeks the new Train Sim World 4 will be a game changer. Absolute game changer. It will bring us, well, I better be careful here. It's going to bring back a lot of what we lost when we from Train Simulator 2020, or what we call Train Simulator, the Dovetail Games Train Simulator Classic. What's going on here? I'm losing ground. I am losing ground. Let's take a look at what my settings are. Oh. I had it in brake mode and we're starting to climb, so we need to give a little engine. Yeah, this is Cain Creek. Cain Creek is absolutely gorgeous. This is one of these routes that gets a lot of bad, I don't know, just a lot of complaining, and it's I don't know, it gets a lot of bad whatever. And I love it. I think it's an absolutely beautiful route. It has its problems, yes, but we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about Cain Creek in a minute, and how much I love it, and the difficulties I have. It don't look like yeah, everything's on. But trains, when I left, I was a big fan of Railworks that ended up becoming Train Simulator, and each year it'd be, each year I got an update. In fact, back then, a lot of times the yearly updates for free. Train Simulator 16, 17, Train Simulator 2018, 2019. I don't remember what year it was, but somewhere around that 2018, 2019 year is when Train Sim World came out. And boy, I was excited about it. And I got to tell you, I had thought at the time that hands down Train Sim World was so much better than Train Simulator. But there was a sacrifice. There was a definite sacrifice. Leaving Train Simulator, well, I never left it. I still went back to play certain downloads that I loved, that Train Sim World wouldn't have. And Train Simulator, the Chorus, what was it called? Chorus? I can't remember the name of it. There was a downloadable content called the Chorus line or whatever, and it had these miniature steam trains that you would ride around. I still play that. It's so different and so much fun, and it's a very short strip of riding up and down a very scenic area in these miniature trains, and it is fun. And then also I had downloaded and purchased from a third party with Train Simulator many other products. One of them was Silverton and Durango. Boy, what a beautiful, narrow gauge steam, awesome, through the mountains. I mean, really, through the Rocky Mountains, from Durango up to Silverton and back. What a beautiful thing. That is such a... I would love to see that being redone by somebody in Train Sim World. But, that was one of the ones that I had purchased. But not only that, Train Simulator Classic, we've had so much content from that. And so when you go over to Train Sim World, that was a loss. Loss of multiple routes, lots of routes. And not only that, there was a lot of downloadable content where you had we had steam trains, and Train Sim World didn't get steam trains until a year or two ago, and they're only British. And we had US, American steam trains. Oh my, I loved those, and they were so much fun. So that was a loss, and still is a loss. So these things have not been recovered in Train Sim World. We are building up quite a few routes, but the routes that we have in Train Sim Classic, or Train Simulator Classic, they came from Dovetail Games, they came from third party. There was just so much of it and so much content, and it's not just routes that we had. We had, or we still have, I should say, but we had multiple road names. So you could purchase freight with all the different paint schemes and liveries and all the different road names and have them all mixed up on your route, as well as having the scenario builder to build a route, which I did. I built a couple routes myself that I had so much fun building. It's so fun to do creative type work, artistic type work, to try to fill in all the things that you wish the developers would do and they didn't do, but you could do because you had this scenario planner in your hand. The route builder in your hand, and plus building your own scenarios to your own route. That is just so wonderful. And those are the kind of things that we gave up with Train Sim World. But now this is what I'm looking forward to in Train Sim World 4, that this is a game changer. If it turns out that this route builder is gonna be what I hope it will be, not so much that I have the abilities to do anything with it. I mean, it's gonna be fun trying, but that other people who have these abilities are going to start producing routes outside of Dovetail Game of content from all countries and all over the place, and it's just going to be it's going to be a new world. And because of this, and because of the reasons Matt Pendleton said that he didn't give us the route builder for the last couple versions, because he knew there was going to be some changes to the core game that wouldn't allow anybody's personally built routes to function, that he didn't offer it. That makes perfect sense to me, and I find it very believable. So I'm good with all that. But now that also says to me that I don't think what everybody's saying is going to be true. I don't see that a year from now Train Sim World 5 is going to be coming out, and I don't see a change to the game core in a year. That this is going to be the game. Train Sim World 4 is going to be the game for quite a while, for the future, because of this route builder. I mean, they're not going to want to be breaking what people do. I just don't, that's how I logically look at it. So for me, I think what's happening is a game changer. And the frustrations that I never had with Train Sim Classic, another thing that we lost when we went from Train Sim Classic to Train Sim World, was the ability to run your trains the way you want to run them. I mean, if you didn't run the scenario that Dovetail Games provided you, you're stuck. you got stuck behind signal lights, and that, I think, in Train Sim Classic, you could contact the dispatch, the guy who could change signals for you. It was kind of fun because you can contact it, and they would open up a block. I mean, if it was available. And then we lost that in Train Sim World, where now you still can hit the key and open up to dispatch, and it always gives you the same message: continue with the signals as is. What? So, I mean, in other words, it's a default statement that does nothing, that means nothing, and you're stuck. Here's some beautiful scenery in Cain Creek that we're coming up. Here's the arch right up in front of us. I don't know if you can see that from the cab. Yeah, you can, but it's not. Kind of go out in this view here. See, as we coming through the mountain. This Cain Creek is a slow ride going through the mountains. But, oh gosh, I'm getting older and I can't remember what I was just talking about. Oh, the signals. You're stuck. In Train Sim World, you got stuck. So now I'm hoping that this new mode for free roam, before they would build a scenario and they call it free roam and say, oh, go do what you want. But you couldn't. You could do what you want without any objectives, but you couldn't go where you wanted because you got still stuck behind the red signal and then be blocked out from going where you wanted. So doing what you want in a little area in the yard is not the same as doing what you really want, and that is leave the yard and go places. And from what we were told, what Matt Pellison said with this new free roam mode, is you can do anything you want and go anywhere you want. Now, in practice, I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know if you have to set a destination, then when you get there, start going and playing around to, go off to a branch line. In other words, I don't know if it's going to mean multiple steps to go anywhere you want. I don't know. I really like to see how the user interface plays out with this free roam. But if it does that, if it does allow you to go on any route, even our old routes in Train Sim World 3 or 2, go back to those routes and go anywhere using that free roam mode, boy, that's a question. Does that free roam mode work in the old stuff or only in Train Sim World 4? Boy, but if it allows you to do free roam with the old stuff, like where we're at right now, Cain Creek, that opens up a whole new thing for us. I mean, if I look at the map and you see in Cain Creek, we do have a couple sightings here, but one of the issues I have is you can't, there's sightings up here and a place over this way, and there's this, you can't go from over here. I don't know, well, maybe you can't see my mouse, but you can't go from over here and just move along this track freely and drop off cars over in this area here, because you're always blocked with a red signal unless there's a scenario. Maybe there is one scenario, a timetable to let you do it, but you can't do it in free roam. You can't do it. So I'm thinking, if this new free roam mode that we get in Train Sim World 4 is available to be used with the old routes, that would be awesome. It will change everything. I can go back to Sand Patch Grade and Cumberland area and enjoy what came out to be a beautiful package that nobody ever talks about or uses anymore. because it's a point-to-point. Now, a point-to-point, this is kind of model railroader talk, but when you build a point-to-point model railroad, you lay down a shelf. Take a kind of an example was you take a door and you lay it down as your train table, because you make a shelf layout, and on one side you have a small yard, and then you have a lay track going from one side of the door to the other side of the door. With big trains this is kind of silly, but with little trains like N scale, you could put a yard on both sides, and you have what we call point to point. The train goes from one side to the other and back again. And there's limited opportunities with a point to point. It's not a continuous run like you do a oval, but it's more realistic if you have sidings and industries that you can drop cars off when you go from point to point. And so that gives you activity that you can do. And so with the train sim world that we have now, whether it's Train Sim World 3 or 4, the routes that we have are pretty much point-to-point routes. And what I mean by that is they're point-to-point routes without the ability to go off on branch lines. I'd give you one example in the Horseshoe Curve. If some of you have Horseshoe Curve in Pennsylvania, that's a point-to-point, but does have a branch line up to South Fork, I think it's called. But you typically can't run to South Fork unless you get in a scenario that says, okay, I'm running from South Fork to down towards Horseshoe, or the other way around, Johnstown. I forget the names of the different areas. But you can't free roam. You cannot free roam into those branch lines. And there's a few places actually you could drop off cars on that route if you could have true free roam, which we don't now. And so that's the frustration. If indeed free roam, the new free roam mode in Train Sim World 4 lets us do this with our old routes like Horseshoe Curve, that's a game changer. If it doesn't, it's still a game changer, but only for those new routes that are in Train Sim World 4 and whatever new comes out. What a disappointment that would be for our old routes. But what am I saying then? I'm saying that Train Sim World 4 is not just another... people are going to hate me saying this. I don't think it's another money grab. Oh, and by the way, I don't mind these, you guys call them money grabs. I look at it like these people are doing hard work, going to work every day. They need to be paid for what they're doing. And I don't know, I can't tell you if it's a money grab. I don't know if somebody's lining their pockets unnecessarily. That's not for me to judge. But Train Sim World 4 would be definitely a new game, a game changer, if indeed free roam works the way we hope it works, and Route Builder works the way we hope it works. And I don't see a new core game change coming out a year or even 2 years from now. Maybe some updates, maybe some additional assets put in, but I don't see a change to the core for a while. Which means I do see a future in Train Sim World 4 with third-party and just freeware as well as shareware and payware coming from elsewhere that's going to offer us more than just point-to-point routes that dovetail game. All they can only seem to think that they can give us a point-to-point with stations in between for passenger drops and nothing for industry drops. But hey, with a Route Builder, we're going to get industry drops. This is going to be a game changer, because we're going to get it not through Dovetail, but through other people who build a decent route. A decent route is a route that has branches like a tree going off of the main line, so you can go down a branch and go into some different sidings and drop off cars at different industries. When did we see that? I can't, Cumberland doesn't see it. San Pat's Grade I'm talking about. Clinchfield, you don't have that at all. Clinchfield is I really love Clinchfield. It's a beautiful scenic route, but it's a point to point with no branches or nothing. In fact, the actual railroad itself is that way too. It's just a mining railroad for coal going up and down. Like fish going from one side to aquarium to another. And so, as much as I love Clinchfield, even if free roam mode works with Train Sim World 3, it's not going to really do much for Clinchfield. It's not that kind of a route. But I want to see routes. They had a route, I always use this example. Dovetail put out their own route. This wasn't even a third-party route. I believe it was put out by Dovetail and Train Sim Classic, and it is the Miami to West Palm. And not only is that a passenger route, it has lots of sidings in the industry that you can drop cars off of, freight cars. It is the way a route should be built. It is a full route, a complete route, not just a point to point, but a route that has its purpose, places to go and activities to do, without having, a particular scenario where you can freely go and do things. It's getting dark, folks. So yeah, I'm very hyped, excited, and looking forward to Train Sim World 4 and what it's going to bring us. But I wasn't even thinking about the question until I just started talking to you guys. Does free roam mode work for the older routes? Well, next week they're going to have a video discussion. I say next week. This would be the week before release. So this is September. I don't know what it is. September 13th or something. I'm talking to you. But next week, a week before the 26th release of September 26, 2023, there's going to be a video about the free roam mode. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping they're answering that question. Maybe they did already, and I just don't remember whether or not free roam mode was going to be available to the old routes, the existing routes like I'm working right now. Oh. Better get out of the way. There's a light up there somewhere. There you go. Well, I don't know. I guess that's what I wanted to say. Why I'm looking forward to Train Sim World 4. I hope it doesn't end up being a disappointment. I don't think it will be. I think the route builder is going to be there. We're going to see some. A year ago when they gave us the scenario planner and the livery designer, I was so excited about that, and they both are so difficult to use. Maybe, for those that pressed in and really got what they wanted out of it, yeah. But I gave up on them. I mean, the livery designer took a lot of effort. I mean, let me tell you what I wanted to do with livery designer. I know it. A lot of people love to just go creative and go crazy and, you know, and paint all kinds of psychedelic stuff and all weird kind of things on their trains. And there's been a lot of that posted in the community. But all I want to do is take a stock car, not with the base color, which is just a plain gray primer, and then you go make your own design. I want to take a stock car with an existing livery, a road name, you know, like your typical CSX blue box car. I don't want it in gray. I want it already labeled out CSX in blue for the purpose of me going in there and making several cars with different either graffiti or weathering for sure. I want to weather these cars. One thing I like about Cain Creek, the one I'm riding right now, is the cars behind me are nicely weathered. Unfortunately, getting dark like this, you can't see them. I don't think you can see them. Yeah, you really can't. You can't really, well, you can a little bit, but difficult to see, but they are nicely weathered. And I want to weather cars, you know, because there's too many beautiful, brand new looking cars going down the track in Train Sim World. Every car looks identical, none of it's weathered, and there's no different road names, and that's, you know, that's a frustration. So, yeah. What do I mean by it's a game changer in that we're getting back what we lost from Train Sim Classic when we went to Train Sim World? Well, what we lost was the route builder. We lost the ability to free roam, the dispatch open signals to go anywhere you want. And we lost a lot of routes, of course, but I'm not even talking about that so much. We lost the ability to put any car on the rail that you wanted to put on the rail and mix road names. And we lost a lot of routes that had branches and purpose for freight, for delivery. You know, so in the yard you can build up. And now I think that Train Sim World 4 is a game changer in that we may recover most all of that. With the only exception is now we just need for somebody, either Dovetail Games or third party, to start producing routes that have branches in industry with number of locations where you can deliver freight cars to and pick up at. Also in Train Sim Classic, another feature was with the particular keyboard key, you can load and unload cars. I don't know if there's a workaround. I don't know that that's been provided for Train Sim World 4 because nobody's mentioned it, but it might be in free roam. There might be a workaround where you can get away with taking a loaded car and switching it with an unloaded car. It seems kind of cumbersome, but I think it may be possible. But we lost that. We lost that when we went to Train Sim World. So any of these routes for Train Sim World, if you have a loaded car in a scenario, it stays loaded. If you drop it off, you know. You know, I thought it was curious. The competitor program, I don't even think it's a competitor program, but the other train simulator called Run 8, it has the ability, if you drop off a loaded car, you know, 24 hours later, it will be empty automatically by itself. I don't know if that's the feature I'm talking about. I mean, I'm really talking about what Train Sim Classic had, Train Simulator Classic had, was you can use a key to load and unload cars. Even with Cain Creek, if you use the scenario, it'll automatically load up your hoppers with the ore. But there's no keyboard command to do it. It's either in the scenario or it's not. So if you do a free roam in Cain Creek, which you can do to some extent, and you grab a hopper, there's no way to load that hopper outside of a scenario. So we kind of lost that, and I'm hoping to see that change. So, you know, I guess I don't really have much more to say. I just kind of airing out my hopes and things that I'm looking forward to. So, you know, please comment if you got some thoughts about this as well. But I do see that Train Sim World 4 is going to bring back some of the things that we lost. Maybe much of what we lost when we moved from Train Sim Classic to Train Sim World, which keeps us still playing Train Sim Classic in some respects. But we'll see. Anyway, I think that's all I want to say. It's getting pretty dark now. Nothing more to see. And I'm sure after I close out, I'll think of other things I wanted to say. But I can always comment below. But thanks for watching. And well, I did want to talk about Cain Creek. So before I close out, Cain Creek is another route where it's a point-to-point. There's no passengers, so there's no place to drop people on and off. There's no stations, but it's certainly, you know, you're going from one end to the other end with your freight, with not a lot of activity at all where you can drop stuff off. But as far as scenery goes, it's absolutely gorgeous and one of my favorite ones to ride and drive through. And very relaxing. It is a slow drive because this whole, pretty much everything is done in 20-mile-an-hour limit because of the old rail that you have to be on. But the mountains are beautiful. It gets a lot of bad press, or a lot of bad reviews from people because there are artifacts, graphic artifacts, you know, split mountains and floating rocks. But, you know, to be honest with you, I don't know why Cain Creek gets a lot more dirt thrown at it than other routes, because I think every route there is has those artifacts in it. And it's just, you know, it's a lack of what I say quality control from Dovetail Games. In this case, this route was built, I think, by a third party, and Dovetail has put it out as their, you know, as one of their routes. But there still needs to be a quality control, which we don't even have in Train Sim World 4. And I do want to say this before I close. When looking at the preview to Antelope route in California, that's going to be released with Train Sim World 4, as we were driving up, as Matt Pendelson was driving up the route, the fellow that was with him, I forget who it was, James or whoever it was talking about, hey, look at all those, that RV park, that's pretty cool. And as soon as Matt's attention was drawn to the RV park, he immediately pulled his camera off of it. And I thought, oh, Matt, you saw what we saw. All these RVs floating off the ground. You didn't own it. You didn't own it. Why wouldn't you just own up to it? So that's not going to get fixed. And it's the same old story. This new route that we're going to get with those of you who want the edition with the, I think all the editions have the Antelope in it, but the California Dreaming route. But it's going to have floating artifacts in it. You just kind of have to ignore those when you go through them. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and have a great week, and we'll catch you next time.